7-Eleven holds the distinction of being the foremost and biggest chain of convenience stores globally, with a staggering value of around $37 billion. It operates an extensive network of over 70,000 stores spanning across 17 countries, with its largest presence in Japan, where its number of locations exceeds that of any other country, and sales surpass double the average. However, the current success of 7-Eleven is a far cry from its earlier days. Initially, the company turned down the concept of establishing a store in Japan. Furthermore, in its early stages, 7-Eleven merely served as an ice block store until a courageous junior employee took the opportunity to propose a daring idea to his superior. Get ready to embark on an exciting exploration of the captivating history of 7-Eleven. In 1927, John Green was employed by the Southland Ice Company, a chain of stores selling ice blocks in Oak Cliff, Texas. During one summer, John made the bold decision to keep the store where he worked open for 16 hours every day of the week. His aim was to provide customers with an easier way to keep their perishable items fresh. This was an unprecedented move since no other stores had dared to remain open for such extended hours, especially in areas outside major cities where shopping options were limited. Considering that not many people owned cars and refrigerators were not yet commonplace, John's customers started making requests for additional items like milk and eggs. It was at this point that John realized what his customers truly needed was convenience. He approached his manager and Joe Thompson, one of the owners of Southland, with a proposal to expand their product offerings and become business partners. John suggested that he would invest $1,000 to cover the power bills while they supplied the items. Fortunately, Joe agreed, and together they established the world's first convenience store. As they introduced more products beyond ice, the store began attracting large crowds. Witnessing the immediate success, Joe decided to open additional locations throughout Dallas and subsequently renamed them as totem stores. The concept arose when an employee placed the souvenir totem pole from Alaska outside one of the stores. The totem pole garnered significant attention, prompting other employees to suggest a new name for the stores as customers toted away their purchases. Joe, the owner, decided to further unify his stores by training the staff to engage in daily sales talks and provide quality assurance. Additionally, he initiated the construction and leasing of gas stations at many of the stores, leading to a prosperous business period. However, a devastating event occurred shortly after Southland's expansion. The Great Depression struck 1 year later, plunging the company into bankruptcy. Fortunately, a banker named W. Overton Jr. intervened and assisted Southland in surviving by organizing the purchase of all its bonds, which served as a loan from investors who received regular interest payments. Consequently, Southland's board of directors obtained a controlling interest in the company. 2 years later, as the prohibition, a nationwide alcohol ban, was lifted, Southland began its financial recovery. The totem stores seized the opportunity and started selling ice-cold beers. With time, the surge in sales propelled Southland to operate 60 totem stores throughout Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. Remarkably, Southland continued to thrive even amidst the commencement of World War II. The company emerged as the primary supplier of ice for the construction and operation of Camp Hood, the largest training camp of the U.S. Army. To meet the increasing demand, Southland acquired City Ice Delivery, which possessed 2 ice plants, 20 stores, and property in Dallas. By the end of the war, Southland owned numerous stores throughout Texas and operated from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. Around this time, Southland enlisted the services of an advertising firm named Tracy Locke to propose a new name for their totem stores. The firm decided on 7-Eleven to emphasize the company's dedication to extended business hours for superior customer service. In the subsequent years, Southland identified further growth opportunities. Initially, they acquired Texas Public Utilities, which owned 20 ice plants, solidifying Southland's position as the largest ice company in Texas. Later, Joe's eldest son, John P., joined Southland's board of directors and introduced a new strategy following a meeting in Washington, D.C. During the night of the meeting, a blizzard hit the city, rendering driving impossible. However, John P. observed that people were still walking to stores located on street corners to purchase essential items like canned soup, tissue boxes, and medicine. In that moment, John P. realized that Southland's business strategy should consider traffic patterns around busy street corners when opening new stores. Unbeknownst to Joe, this strategy would ultimately elevate his father's company to new heights, but also lead to challenging times in the future. After a span of 5 years following the expansion, John P. assumed the role of vice president at Southland, while his brother, Jer, became the vice president of 7-Eleven. Subsequently, 7-Eleven extended its reach beyond Texas and ventured into Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Simultaneously, the chain started opening stores in suburban areas and swiftly eliminated unpopular products, contributing to Southland achieving a significant milestone of $100 million in annual sales. Unfortunately, the Thompson family faced a devastating loss during the same year when Joe, the founder, passed away at the age of 60 due to brain cancer. Following the loss of his father, John P. incorporated Southland and set an ambitious objective of increasing the company's annual sales to $1 billion within a decade. Under the leadership of the Thompson brothers, notable changes were implemented in 7-Eleven's operations. Firstly, the chain expanded its daily operating hours from 16 to 24 after a store in Austin remained exceptionally busy following a football game, making it impossible to close. This led to other stores expressing a desire to adopt the same extended hours. Furthermore, 7-Eleven began franchising its stores, resulting in their expansion across the United States. Additionally, new products were introduced, most notably the first fresh coffee in disposable cups and the Slurpee. 4 years later, John P. assumed the role of CEO at Southland, while Jared took his former position as vice president. John P. successfully achieved the goal he had set for Southland after his father's passing, reaching $1 billion in annual sales within 10 years. Just 1 year later, the Thompson brothers managed to take Southland public on the New York Stock Exchange. By that time, there were already thousands of 7-Eleven stores across the US and Canada. However, the Thompson brothers aimed to expand even further, and the perfect opportunity presented itself over 6,000 miles away. Toshifumi Suzuki, a young executive from Japan representing the company Ito Yokado, traveled to the US with the intention of branching into the other businesses on behalf of his company. During his visit, he stumbled upon a 7-Eleven store and became immediately fascinated by the concept of a 24-hour convenience store. Recognizing its potential, Toshifumi pitched the idea to his fellow executives at Ito Yokado, who shared his enthusiasm. That same year, Ito Yokado successfully negotiated a licensing agreement with the Thompson brothers for 7-Eleven, despite facing initial rejection. The agreement granted Ito Yokado complete control over 7-Eleven in Japan, leading to a creation of a subsidiary company for the business. Just 1 year later, the first Japanese 7-Eleven opened in Toyosu, Tokyo. The Thompson brothers could never have anticipated that a once rejected offer would become a lifeline for 7-Eleven. The Japanese counterpart of 7-Eleven had several notable differences compared to its American counterpart. It was spelled as 7-Eleven, had half the average size, stocked only a third of the average inventory, and provided fresh foods such as lunch boxes 3 times a day. One unexpected item offered by the chain was onigiri, rice balls, wrapped with nori or seaweed and filled with meat or vegetables. At that time, onigiri was typically considered a homemade item, but 7-Eleven was the first company to commercialize it. Over the next decade, 7-Eleven in Japan achieved tremendous success. It went public on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, expanded to 3,000 stores throughout Japan, and diversified its services to include bill payments for electricity and gas. Meanwhile, Southland became one of the America's largest retailers, making it an even more attractive investment for shareholders, some of whom were content with owning a small share of the company, while others secretly desired more. The Thompson family would discover the truth through an unexpected call when John P. received a message from Samuel Bilsberg, a Canadian investor who owned shares in Southland. Samuel informed John P. that his advisors were urging him to acquire more of the company's stock. John pleaded, "Don't do that. You told me you wouldn't." At the time, Samuel, known as a feared corporate raider, owned 5% of Southland, while the Thompson family owned only around 10%. Jurr later admitted feeling extremely nervous, as someone like Bilsberg could buy a significant amount of stock and make a real offer for the company. To prevent a hostile takeover, the Thompson brothers decided to go private by buying out investors, accumulating $4 billion in debt and paying $2.5 million to shareholders who filed class action lawsuits. Over time, the Thompson family managed to own approximately 50% of Southland, but had to sell many of the company's non-7-Eleven operations, including the dairy and ice businesses they had founded, in order to pay off their debt. This resulted in about 2,000 employees losing their jobs. Several years later, Southland faced bankruptcy again, unable to secure creditors' agreement to refinance their debt, marking one of the largest bankruptcy cases in U.S. history. The Thompson brothers had no choice but to seek help from Ito Yokado through a buyout offer, selling 70% of Southland for $430 million in cash. At that time, Southland owned 6,000 7-Eleven stores in the US and Canada and licensed an additional 6,400 stores in 22 countries, with around 4,200 international stores in Japan. Fortunately, Ito Yokado agreed to the deal and acquired the company, rebranding Southland Corp to 7-Eleven Inc. Just 1 year later, Ito Yokado transformed 7-Eleven into a highly efficient, high-tech machine utilizing a fourth-generation point-of-sale system to optimize stocking, pricing, and reveal customer demographics and sales patterns. 7-Eleven in Japan introduced new products, including luxury goods not typically found in convenience stores. Today, 7-Eleven in Japan is renowned for its convenience and premium products. It offers 7 Cafe with hot and cold coffee, teas, and sweets, 7 Premium Gold with pre-packaged dinner items like ramen noodles and hamburger steaks, 7 Premium Fresh with fresh items like raw meats and fruits, and 7 Premium Lifestyle with everyday items such as clothing and household goods. The chain continues to provide services like gas and electricity bill payments, ATM access, foreign exchange machines, Metro Pass refills, concert ticket sales, free Wi-Fi, and electronics. To compete with Asian rivals like Family Mart and Lawson, 7-Eleven Japan has expanded its presence in malls, train stations, and installed vending machines in offices, factories, hospitals, and schools. These efforts have contributed to annual sales of around $42 billion. Meanwhile, in the US, 7-Eleven is recognized for its large-sized drink like the Big Gulp and its 24-hour accessibility. However, 7-Eleven is taking steps to enhance its offerings in Japan. They are introducing healthier food options and providing a restaurant experience, including the opening of taco shops in select locations. 7-Eleven continues to provide gasoline on site and now offers drive-thru and delivery services. While annual sales in the US reach billions of dollars, around $18 billion, it is still 57% less compared to Japan. Currently, 7-Eleven remains the world's largest convenience store chain, with over 70,000 locations in 17 countries, primarily in Japan, and is valued at nearly $37 billion. This is the story of how a junior employee took a chance and pitched a bold idea to his boss, and how a previously rejected offer sustained a billion-dollar business. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Business Central. We hope you enjoyed delving into the fascinating world of business with us. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Stay connected with us. Like, comment, subscribe to our channel, and click that notification bell so you won't miss a video. Stay inspired, stay informed, and keep making waves in the world of business. See you in the next one.